It's Friday, it's Business Update, and this is a special edition of the programme coming to you from the Geneva International Motor Show 2019. Coming up, 34 new exhibitors join the ranks here at this year's event, but a number of high-profile brand pullouts have also been announced. The likes of Land Rover, Hyundai and Volvo are not here this year. Organisers have assured me, though, that this is just a bump in the road.
We'll try to do our best to attract them again. We hope that some of them will be coming next year or the year after. They explained to us that it is for financial reason, because of the Brexit or whatever. We don't know the real truth, but what is important is to try to attract them again next year or the year after.
The focus of the show is increasingly electric. We caught up with one Swiss brand that's brought out a new all-electric sports concept, and also, attention all petrol heads, Harley Davidson is going green.
Yes, officially it's a four-wheel only show. So we're really excited to be here because it changes how we show up, and it's a bit of a coup for the show, of course. But we need to change how people see Harley Davidson if we're going to grow this customer base and generate the next riders.
And changing of the guard, incoming Managing Director Olivier Ries reveals to me some of his key plans to keep the show as relevant as ever in a digital age.
The app we plan will be, let's say, live on September this year already, to register and to book the tickets, to book maybe also some test drives we will organize next year.
Yes, this is indeed a special edition of Business Update. Now, usually on a Friday, we look back at the week that was. This week, however, we're going to look forward to some of the coverage that we'll be bringing you from the Geneva Motor Show next week on CNN Money Switzerland. However, as always, I'm delighted to welcome Frederic Lelievre, our Deputy Editor, back with us in the programme. And this is quite exciting for us because you're actually in Geneva, you're a Geneva person. This isn't the first time, though, that you've been here to the Motor Show.
No, I've been there a few times, privately for work. It's a massive event here. It accounts for 300 million of economic benefit for the canton itself. It's close to 1% of GDP of the canton. It's massive. It's the largest professional show in Switzerland, and it accounts among the top maybe 3 car makers show in Europe. So it's really a big event.
How has it changed over the years? When was the last time that you were here, for example?
I believe the last time I came was maybe 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was much less electric, much more classic.
That's for sure.
That's for sure. One good other change is there were many women dressed in provocative outfits, and which I haven't seen that many this year. There's still a few, but way less. I think we see more teams with men and women wearing track jackets, or meaning they're ready here to inform the customers and not just try and charm them.
What for you, as you've been wandering around these halls for the last few days, are the kind of main subjects? You mentioned electric vehicles, but what else have you noticed?
Well, for me, there are 3 things mainly here. The first one is how the automotive industry is supposed to reinvent itself, because the global warming is here, so they have to push some more electric vehicles, low carbon emission vehicles. They try also to address the young audience. You know, young people tend to less and less pass their drive license, so they need to try and find ways to bring them here and think more mobility. And this is something the fair is trying to do. There's, for instance, the Shift conference taking place on one day, which I found quite disappointing actually this year. It's in a second place in a little corner of the fair. Audio was not good, and it's not engaging enough. Hopefully next year there will be more on this.
Okay, what else?
Well, second is Brexit. One of the good things here also in Geneva is that we have almost as many car makers existing in the world, and certainly most European ones are here. And it's been very interesting to follow what they had to say on the disruption they see coming slowly within the automotive supply chain across Europe. If a hard Brexit is happening, which many of the car makers, CEOs, mostly men, have said this week, the concern is what is going to happen with the customs, for instance. Can we still produce in the UK? And so we've seen some investments put on hold or even cancelled from Honda, Nissan, but we've heard from other big players, Rolls-Royce and Citroën and others, saying something big is coming, and it matters also for Switzerland, because as you know, Many of the Swiss exporters are supplying the car industry in Europe, and if the UK, which was a major market, is shrinking that much because of the Brexit, then you need to reorganize all the supply chain.
Okay, we're going to be talking a bit more about Brexit a little later in the programme, but what's your number 3?
Number 3, it's of course the show itself. Where is it going? It's struggling. There's less visitors coming. We'll see this year if the trend keeps going or if more people are coming than last year. Then it's trend just fighting its own survival. There's many car shows in Europe. What would make Geneva special? Some big names pulled out. Volvo, Chevrolet are no longer here. We've seen newcomers. Will that be enough? What are the key strengths Geneva can propose? And if we compare to Paris, for instance, where we've seen this year, last year in autumn, Volkswagen, the brand, didn't go to Paris. There was a big shock there. Nissan didn't go as well. Whereas both brands are here presenting new models, so that's quite interesting. It says that Geneva is still a major platform. Then maybe another thing Geneva could play is still very much towards luxury cars. High CO2 emitter cars, maybe, but still sports, luxury, and it goes with Switzerland, so there's a good fit between the two.
Okay, well, fighting for survival is something that I actually put to one of the organisers of this year's Geneva International Motor Show, and they say that there's no way that this show has to fight for the future.
We don't have to save the Geneva International Motor Show, we have to improve. And we have to, let's say, to build this community together between media visitors and exhibitors. This is the only thing, because Geneva is the, let's say, the more beloved motor show in the world. So, and we know that from the exhibitors, they come really, they are happy to come here in Geneva. But we have to bring success, and we have to bring the return on invest they are expected.
Well, increasingly electric vehicles are the focus of the Geneva show. And many of the big brands are indeed jumping on the electric vehicle bandwagon, but it's very interesting because we're starting to see a lot more startups get involved in this because EV offers a lot of opportunity. Now, I spoke to one man, he's a Swiss-based startup, Tony Peech. He's launching the Peech Mark Zero here. He unveiled it, in fact, here at the Geneva Motor Show. It's a new concept car that he hopes will be on the streets within the coming years. Interestingly, Tony Peech is the son of former VW chairman Ferdinand Peech, and he's also descended from the Porsche family. He spent his whole life trying to get away from the car industry, but EV has drawn him back, and he hopes now to continue the family legacy.
The car industry is in upheaval, and any time when things become upheavals, there's a chance for a newcomer to do something quicker, faster, in some different way. We think the car industry is changing fundamentally in a few ways, and that fundamentally gives chance to a new business model that you can basically implement easier if you have no legacy issues. So one of our problems is that we have nothing, but one of the positive things is that we have nothing, so we can start anew and do it exactly the way we want it.
But you have a personal legacy when it comes to cars, though. Just tell us about that.
I don't. I have a name that is connected to the car industry, but we all have a name, and that people in my family have done great things has nothing to do with me. Statistically, I think the chances that I do something great aren't necessarily that big just because from a good family, but it is a great responsibility.
Okay, Frederic, it's time now for our number of the week. What is it this week?
It's number 34. It's a number of new exhibitors at the gyms this year, including the Tony Peech you just referred to, and also some Chinese, very interesting Chinese players. Okay,
well, I actually caught up with the founder of iWays, which is a Chinese company that's unveiling its U5 here at the show, and he told me just how important it is for a Chinese company to break into the European market.
Europe is a market for us, in our point of view, is very important. And we know Europe more better because all the persons in our company either with a very strong background of Europe or is European themselves. So that's why we choose Europe market as our first station.
So, Frederic, can China really disrupt the car market here in Europe, do you think?
That's a big question. Certainly something the ARC folks would like to achieve. It's a new brand coming in Europe.
This is the other one of the two
Absolutely.
Chinese brands
Exactly.
here.
Different is it's backed by BAIC. It's a major, to one of the top 4 or 5 car makers in China from Beijing, hardly known in Europe. And they unveiled a new electric vehicle. Interestingly, it's been designed, or part of the design has been supervised by a former Volkswagen head of design that you also had the chance to interview. It's important for them to be here, they said, because Geneva is an open platform. They can reach the European market just at once with that new brand. They try to push it hard. They even managed to have the former French Prime Minister, François Fillon, on stage with them. Asked separately, he said he has nothing really to do with them, but he was just supporting the effort. The key point the Chinese make here is that half of the electric vehicles sold globally last year were sold in China. So they say, we are the leaders. We are the one who can lead the world and show how to build batteries, electric batteries, and power your cars. So you can trust us. Our technology is really state of the art, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to enter that market in Europe. That was another reason why they came to Geneva.
One of the other talking points that we always talk about here on CNN Money Switzerland is trade tariffs, and I tried to kind of address that issue with some of the Chinese car makers here, but they remained fairly closed out on that issue. But we really did pick up, not just with the organisers of gyms, but also the CEO of Citroën, that actually Brexit and geopolitical issues in general do play a factor on car companies today.
You know, the UK is my 5th largest market, so it's a really important part of my business, and I want to make sure I succeed over there. But the instability we've currently got makes it impossible to be able to plan. You're right, I import. So clearly, what's the question in terms of tariffs? Is it a single market? Is it free supply? All of those things really will have a major impact on my business, particularly for Citroën. At the same time, as you quite rightly say, we've got 2 factories over there. So what do we do, you know, in terms of how does that work for the group? So many questions, but no answers. So it's extremely frustrating. Extremely frustrating, and you know, we're very concerned.
Well, we're not here just to talk about the Geneva International Motor Show. Of course, today is also International Women's Day. I actually put it to Olivier Ries, who's the incoming Managing Director of Geneva Motor Show, about how much female representation there is within the car industry.
This is still a macho world, still, but I think the interest of the female population is getting higher and higher. And what we can do here is we will have a special day here at Geneva, but I think this is more, let's say, a trend also that has to take place not only here in Geneva, but in all the companies. And but
are you actively trying to change that? I mean, is this on your radar as an important issue?
So, you know, in my team here in Geneva, I have 5 women. Head of marketing, head of construction and operation, head of organization, all women. And they are really fan of the fair here and of the show, and it's fantastic to share that with them.
And of course, you can catch up with all our content that we'll be bringing you on CNN Money Switzerland next week by logging onto our website. It will be updated every single day with fresh content from the Geneva Motor Show. Just log on to cnnmoney.ch, where you can also sign up for our newsletter, and you can like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter as well. Let's just bring in Frederic again. What's on your radar for next week?
Next week we switch gears, if I may say.
Very nice.
We'll be focusing on the Swiss GDP, gross domestic product. The SECO, the State Secretary for Economic Affairs, is releasing its new forecast for 2019. You may remember last December they downgraded it to 1.5% for this year, down from 2%. Since then, what happened? Basically, the European economy is still slowing down. It's the main export market for Switzerland.
Are you expecting them then to downgrade it again?
It wouldn't be a surprise. Maybe not that same magnitude that they've done in December, but a slight downgrade wouldn't be a big surprise. So we'll see. It's on Thursday.
Okay, Frederic, thank you very much indeed, and thank you for watching this edition of Business Update. One more thing before we go. We asked everyone who we've spoken to at this year's event about what makes Geneva so special when it comes to the motor show. Have a listen to what they had to say. Bye-bye.
The overall show is stunning, and you can see all around us. It's a bit of a shock for me, to be honest, because this is my first time, so I'm still getting used to it, but yeah, it's fantastic.
If you are young and sportive, then you have to go to Geneva. And we are young and sportive with our technology, with our cars, and that's why we are here.
It's because Switzerland is neutral. We have no car producer, and therefore we treat all our exhibitors on the same level.
Geneva Motor Show is a place that is very democratic for everybody. You have not pressure from the countries, and from the beginning, 40 years that I come in Geneva, you have this feeling.